Hey, hi guys. Good morning. Hey.
Good morning, Shiva.
Hey, good morning. So let me wait for a few more minutes so that all others can join, and then we can get started. Yes, I think so. Most of the guys join. Let me get started. So, how many of you guys completed the Hive sessions assignments? I didn't receive any answers from anyone. Not sure whether you started them or not. So in Hive, so far, we discussed it like so we discussed about basic data types and database commands and table commands and create table statements and load data in paths and select queries. And also we discussed about complex data types and different types of tables, different types of meta stores, and different file formats and compression techniques, and a few minutes about the views as well. Okay. Next, some of the Hive built-in functions that you should be aware of, at least bare minimum. Some math functions you can apply, round, floor, seal, absolute, and random, on similar to your Oracle SQL functions. Here also you will have all these things. And aggregate functions, these are the functions that you might use more frequently. Count of star to get the total number of records, and count of distinct column name, only the distinct records for that. It will not include the duplicate values. And sum of a column, average, minimum, maximum, all these are aggregate functions. And these sometimes will be useful when you are dealing with strings. Concatenation of either you can specify the two column names, column name 1, column name 2. Then these two column values will be concatenated and will be shown in the result. And in string is something like finding the index of a substring, whether a particular small substring is present in the bigger string or not. And length of a string, regular expression extract, same like string subject and string pattern, and int index from where it should start searching. And split by string pattern, your source string, and your similar to that, and similar to a Java substring, we have substring methods. And translates, this is more similar to the same translate in Java as well. Okay, so mostly these two types of functions will be useful in real time for you. So mostly you will be using them. And in case if you have any complex data types like arrays, maps, and structs. So if you have array and if you want to look for a particular value is present in that array or not, you can use this array contains, or sometimes how many elements in that array is containing, so size of array, and or if you want to sort those array elements, you can sort this by that column. Also, if you have map and want to get only the keys or only the values, we have map keys and map values methods available. Okay, so this is just same as your traditional SQL commands. Okay, even the syntax will closer to that, matching there. And there are some date functions, so Unix date and time, and there are some typical SQL kind of functions that are available. So all of them. So mostly if you have any function that you are aware of in SQL, And if you want to find the corresponding functions in Hive, so most of the times you will find them. And anyway, since I am just giving you the theoretical list of these functions here, and if you want to practice them, and I have given some examples also, so you can look in this URL, all these functions and few more extra functions also listed down. Okay, but anyway, so just guiding you to this, and some of these are self-explanatory. Just I want you to spend some time and explore all these things. Okay. So all these functions with examples: create database, create manage table, external table, table from existing table. Okay. So using the like statement, or loading, copying data, drop, quit, select, describe. Okay. Clone schema. Schema means database. So all mathematical functions, how can you apply them in your select statements? You can see here. Aggregate functions, count of star and max of the column from this. And select count distinct. And if there is an array, and if you use explode, same as your SQL explode, so this will return multiple rows. If that array values will become multiple values. And limit, nested select. Even case, when, then, case statements are also supported in Hive. So case when salary less than 50,000, then low case when salary greater than this. Then middle, and case when salary greater than 70,000, high, else very high. So this else condition will never get executed, of course, technically speaking. Okay, now you will get name, salary, and salary group or salary band, low, middle, or high. So you can derive some new values using that kind of flow. Okay, and like same like in your SQL. So like percentile, your string percentile matches for the main keyword, and anything preceding to that and anything after that. Okay. And you can also give some regular expressions like dot star Chicago or Ontario. So it searches directly in the strings address.street. It looks for either Chicago or Ontario at the same time. And from my experience is that try to avoid or likes as much as possible. Instead, use like only with 2 times, like street like percentile main percentile, street like Chicago percentile, or street like percentile Ontario percentile. Using like is always much faster, even if you have multiple where classes, instead of using the R like, regular expression like. Okay, so this reduces your coding efforts, but when it comes to query performance time, so this is some real-time observation, R like is relatively taking longer time than you use the like statements. Okay, so then group by, joins, order by, sort by. You have order by, sort by also. So both of them will almost give the same result. Like Order by is something which will give you the total records in the sorted order, no matter how many reducers are ran. Let's say, of course, if you submit the order by statement, in the backend it will run the map reduce job, right? So that map reduce job, if it is having 3 reducers, and if you use order by, then it will submit only 1 reducer. Order by, if you uses the global sorted ordering, you will get global sorted ordering, and only 1 reducer will get submitted. Output 1 sorted file. Okay. Whereas if you use sort by, there is some indentation issue in this table. But anyway, if you use sort by, so that is local to reducer sorting. Okay. So that will get sorted only within each reducer. If you have 3 reducers, output in the first reducer will be in sorted order, output in the second reducer will be in the sorted order. But when you take that records from across all the 3 reducers in the same sequence, you may not find the records being sorted. Same like your map reduce output. Okay, so the advantage of order by is that it gives you global sorting at the cost of making it 1 reducer. And sort by is that you can still run parallel reducers, but you will have to you will get only the sorted results within each reducer. So on the other hand, so we have distribute by. So distribute by along with sort by can be used some places where you want the sorted order. So either this way, let's say if you have your data, if you have employee records or some products information, employee records, in real time, you may not want all the employees to be sorted by the names. If there are 10,000 employees, you may not need that all the 10,000 employees to be sorted by. You want to group them by departments and then sort by the names. Maybe for within each department you might like it. So in that scenarios, so that when you are asking by within each department, you can tell distribute by department. Then each department will get processed by 1 reducer, and within that reducer you can sort by your employee names. So the advantage of distribute by, or the purpose of distribute by, is that so each of that category records will be processed separately by 1 reducer. This is something like you writing a custom partitioner in MapReduce. Suppose if you have IT department, if you have HR department, if you have finance department, if you want to process each of these department records by a separate reducer in MapReduce framework, we were writing custom partitioners. Now, instead of doing that, in Hive, you can directly specify distribute by department. Then each department will be distributed to 1 particular reducer. You are achieving the same functionality here. And within that department, you can sort your records by employee records by your employee name or whatever the value that you want to sort them by. So in real-time scenarios, in real-time business scenarios, you'll rarely get scenario to globally sort all your 10,000 records or 1 million records. So you might use a combination along with something else. So in that case, you can leverage the distribute by there. Okay, and we have seen nested selects. So yeah, that is some list of some built-in functions and some keywords or operators that are available in Hive. Okay, so yeah, it's again further exploring of all other commands that are available. This is something like pure SQL course. Okay, pure Oracle SQL course. So just explore as much as, and especially if you are from data warehousing background, so you can, whatever the functions that you are aware of, so you can look for all those functions in this list that I am sharing you this URL, or you can find the hive.apache.org documentation site. So default built-in functions. So you can refer either of these places. So Hive DDL statements for all your table creations or database creations, data manipulation statements, load, insert, and your select statements like group by, sort by, distribute by. Okay, and user defined functions, we'll see joins and join optimizations. Joins are pretty similar, same as your SQL joins. And subqueries, writing some subqueries, sampling using the bucket statements, we'll see. Some advanced SQL developers, if they are already aware of some windowing or analytic functions, they can try them out. Hey, I am a bit surprised. Even the procedural language, PL SQL, oh my God, even this got introduced in the latest releases. It is available in Hive 2.0. Okay, there might be some limitations to this. This is very recently added. So created by this 2016, I think, just 2-3 months ago. Okay, so this feature even I was not aware of. Just now I'm observing this. So this is like your pure SQL course. You can explore as much as you can. Okay. Then let me quickly jump to the next one important topic in Hive, the partitioning. Okay, so instead of spending a lot of time on theory part of just definitions and all, let me give you one example. One example of then you will understand the partitioning technique. So let's assume you are maintaining a products list of 10 million products and or the users list. Okay, either product list or the users list. Suppose if you take users from different countries are registered with your website. Okay, you are maintaining some kind of website, and you have a backend table. The user table is there for you. Okay, and users can register from different countries, and you have total of 10 million users got registered across 10 countries. Okay, and for simplicity, let's take all those 10 million records got equally spread into 10 countries. So suppose if you take Australia, so Australia has 1 million records and South Africa has 1 million records. New Zealand is having 1 million records and India is having 1 million records. So that way, so total 10 countries, 10 million records. Now, if you have that one big table, so meaning you will have one file in that user directory, right? If your table name is user, suppose if your table name is user, you will find in the HDFS a directory called /user/hive/warehouse and your db testdb.db, and if your table name is user table, so under this you will have one big flat file, data.file, and this will contain all the 10 million records. Okay, so 10 million records spread across 10 countries. Now, if you want to look for a user, search for a user in a particular country, like select star from user table where so where username equal to you can directly give Murli Kailasapu something and country equal to India. Okay, this is, suppose this is your query, and suppose next you will have Anand Azmera and country equal to US. So in this case, you have this 10 million records stored in one file or even multiple files but in the same directory. If you look for, you are just looking for one record, Murli Kailasapu, he belongs to country India. Okay, so in this, for this query, your Hive engine will search the records across all the 10 million records under this user_table directory. In this file, or even if you have multiple files in this user_table, it will look inside all the files for this country equal to India and username equal to Murli. And even in the second case, it will look for all the 10 million records and it finds this Anand Azmera and gives me that record. It looks for that country, US and all, everything. Now, if you observe, I can group my records by country. So, and each country is equally having the same amount of records. Of course, there is no mandatory rule that each group should have equal number of records. For simplicity, I'm assuming that as I'm taking that assumption. Okay. Now, if I can store these records partitioned by or grouped by, so what I will do is, suppose I will maintain all US records equal to country equal to US country equal to US slash US records. And under the same table, if I create another subdirectory, country equal to India, IN records. Okay. And country equal to CA Canada and CA records.txt. Now, if you have your data stored in this format, if you have separated out all US records into one subdirectory under the same user table, yes, this is still under the same user table, but you created a one subdirectory for US and another subdirectory for India and another separate subdirectory for Canada. Now, if you submit the same select query, username equal to Murli and country equal to IN, then it will search inside only in this subdirectory. Country equal to IN and in India records.txt files. Only in this subdirectory it looks. Your Hive engine searches for this keyword. So all 9 million records got excluded from my search criteria. So 90% of the data scan got excluded. So obviously, since searching inside a limited number of records, you will obviously get search results faster. So this partitioning is one of the optimization technique, performance optimization technique to improve your queries response time. By grouping, by taking anything that by which you can group by. Okay, and some general scenarios that I can give you on which attribute you can group by. Let's say if you are talking about user names, and since this is just general information, so name, first name, last name, city, state, country, you can partition them by country, or within a country. Of course, if you further want to drill down, you can specify state equal to US, New York, and India, state equal to AP, and Canada, some Toronto or something. Okay. You can further create subdirectories. This is like partition by 2 columns. So then again, if you have multiple states in the India, and if I can specify here, I should specify, okay, and state equal to AP, then this username Murli will be searched only in this subdirectory, limiting to just 0.1. Let's say if I take again in India, out of that 1 million records, 10 states are there, and each state with equal amount of, then 0.1 per 1 million. Only 1% of the records out of total records being searched. If you are already from Oracle or any other enterprise RDBMS systems, this is same like partitioning in your Oracle or partitioning in your Postgres. Okay, so table partitioning. performance optimization technique. Now, to give you on which column or in which attribute you should do this partitioning by, suppose it makes common sense. Like, okay, when you are talking about employees, employee numbers, IDs, and roles and departments. So, which is the column that you can group by records? Obviously, the department. And similarly, if you are talking about products, retail domain, so product ID, product name, product description, and brand and category. So brand is Coke or brand is Pepsi. You can group your records by either brand or category or something. Or if you want to group them by country, use them. Okay, so this makes some common sense, like, so on which column you should group them by, and especially when you are receiving data every day, either it could be log files or it could be products information or something. So if you are receiving a separate file daily, then that time we can also partition by date. Okay, so instead of directly country, so if you want to have day equal to or day equal to your value, you can specify 2016 06 27. You can specify this way also. Then maybe if you want to look for your statistics at a day level, so then these queries will be helpful. And also, if you have your partitioning technique enabled, you should use that partitioning column, is country equal to US or state equal to AP. Then only you will get better results. Otherwise, if you simply call select star from user table where username equal to Murli, then even your Hive engine will not know into which directories it look for. Then it will search us in all the 10 million records. That time you will not get the benefit of partitioning. So if you are partitioning by a particular column, meaning on that column you might be using your where classes. You will be looking for a data, you will be looking for a record at country level or at state level or at a day level or at a brand level. So whatever, this is based on your business requirements. You have to guess, you have to estimate, you have to predict on which column it will be helpful if I can partition by. Okay, now let me show you the syntax for how to create a partition table. Same create table statement, create table, TB1, and all your list of columns, column 1 and data type, comma, dot all columns. And you can specify all other parameters as it is, and your comments are. So after that, you have to specify partition by, on which column you want to partition it by. Partition column and its data type you should specify. And here one restriction is that, so if this partition column should not be part of this table columns. Okay, so if I have 5 columns, let's say first name, last name, and city, state, country, and phone number. let's assume. So these are my input data. Now, in this US records.txt, I don't need to store again the state and country values. I already have those values in the subdirectories itself. By looking at the subdirectory itself, I know this is a US record and it belongs to state NY. Now, in this US records.txt file, I should store only first name and last name, comma, city, comma, phone number. There is no need to store the country and state once again in this file. Only the four fields will be present here, and those 4 columns values will only be present in this file. Now let me take one example data set and explain you this. So I have user records table. Okay. So I don't have Excel sheet here, but in this. So this is the these are the columns that are available in my input file. So first name, last name, address, country, city, state, post, phone number 1, phone number 2, email, and web. Okay, so these are the columns. This is my header, and below are my records. A typical user records table. Okay. Now for simplicity, I took all these values separated by comma. So here, if you take one record, Rebecca is the first name and last name, and address is this 171E 24th Street, and country is Australia, and city is something Leith or something. State is TA, and postcode is this, and phone number 1, phone number 2, and email address and web address. Okay. Now I want to store. I'm getting these records millions and millions, and I might be searching in any other column, but at a country level or something. Then if I want to partition this by country, and within country also I might have so many records, and again I want to further create some subdirectories, and those subdirectories by state. Okay, I want to create a partition table for this structure. So I will use this partitioned user table. So create table. So for your reference, I have given the link for downloading that user records.txt file from blog. You can get this. So I created a table, first name, last name, address. After that address, I have a country here, and after city and state. But I'm not mentioning them. After address, directly city. After city, directly post. Phone number 1, phone number 2, email, web, and partitioned by country, which is varchar of 64, which means it is a string. And another partitioned column, second level of partitioning by state, and stored as ORC. Your create table statement is pretty similar to any other create table statement. Only thing is one extra line that you got, partitioned by 2 columns, and those 2 columns excluded from this list. Okay. So just observe this syntax once. Just I need a minute break. I'm getting some call from office. One minute break. Hey, sorry, I'm back. Okay. So let's create this table there. Let's create in your Hive Shell. So this is one of the important topic, partitioning. So I want everyone to pay close attention on this. Okay. Otherwise, you will get a lot of questions and confusions. So, okay. Please try to understand in the first iteration itself. Okay. Show tables. So customers and EMP data. Now let me create this user records.txt file. Instead of ORC file format, for simplicity, let me show you one with text stored as. I will simply remove this otherwise. Okay. Because I want to show you one another simple use case. These new line characters are creating some issue, I think. let me create this table once so that okay. So now the table is created. Show tables. Let's see that table and partition underscore user, right? So just see describe formatted table name. You can see this, the data, all the columns, first name, last name, and you can also see the partition information for the partition tables. It's first partition by country and then partition by state within that country. Okay, and this is a managed table. Now, I was telling you one thing on last session, so I will show you the metadata also in the meta store. But if you remember, we are storing all our metadata into MySQL. Since anyway I created this table, let me show you the metadata for this. etc, sorry, inside Hive, in conf in Hive site.xml file. So this one I have already shown you. So in MySQL, so it is pointing to your JavaX JDBC option, JDBC :MySQL, which is running on your local host into a database metastore. So inside this metastore database, you can find the metadata. So how can you navigate there? It's just logging into your MySQL. MySQL -u, username is root, -p, password is Cloudera, all lowercase. So you can see MySQL prompt, same like your Hive. And show databases, same as in Hive. You can see all the databases, and you have metastore here. And use metastore, same as in Hive use command. Database changed now. So if you show the tables there, you can see the metadata of all your tables got distributed across many subtables here. Like you can find the TBLS like tables command. It will just list all the tables. Select star from. You have these many tables in your Hive. So table ID, it is storing some 1, 2, 3, 4. This null is for some link target ID. I don't get confused with null and under table ID. Okay. So up to 25 tables are there. And if you see all those table names, user, events, A, B, C, D, E, F, partitioned user. And again, I created this partition user some time back into some other DB. Now I have this partitioned user just now created. This is the next sequence table. So that way, it maintains the list of tables. And in each table, what are their columns? You can find the table column stats or some columns table. Like if you check here, columns underscore v2, let's see what is there in that. But in real time, you never get a requirement to view inside this. Okay, you don't need to worry about retrieving data from the meta store. Your Hive is columns underscore. You can find all the columns list and their table ID. I think this is table ID. CD ID, which is pointing to the table ID, the column names. So in this, I have this many. For a user table, which is the table ID is 1, and I have these many columns and their data types and their index. Even the ordering of those columns also stored here. ID is first and second is full-time is second, like that. So if you just see the table that we created or something, first name and last name. First name is the first column, that's why it's having 0 index. Last name is second one, and similarly all these columns for table ID 25. Okay, so this is where it stores the metadata. Okay. So let's not worry about much on that. Okay. So I thought I will show you that today. Now you have this table created and we have verified its description also. It's partitioned by country and state. Now I have the data in this format. So I have downloaded, someone gave me this data in this format. So how will I be able to store it is my next question. Okay. So out of those, to store your data into partition table, we have 2 techniques. Okay. So 2 techniques are there. Static partitioning, those are like static partitioning and dynamic partitioning. So what does mean by static partitioning is, let me again show you with the help of example here. Suppose since I am receiving all these records from one source, which is accumulating all the records from all the countries and all the states. Suppose I have different sources. The US country is sending me a separate file, and Australia country is sending me a separate file, and Canada is sending me a separate file, and India is sending me a separate file. So already these records are grouped by country. So if US is sending some records, means it will send only US country records. If Australia is sending some records, means Australia will send only the Australian users records. I don't need to separate those records to group them by country. Okay. So for simplicity, let me take some few records from this. Okay. So I took these few records and pasted it in static input. Static input here. So as I was telling you, in the partition table, the actual data columns are excluding the partition columns. Like I was showing you here. Let's say when I had city, first name, last name, city, state, country, phone number, So since I partitioned my records table by state and country, or country and state, excuse me, my actual data columns will become first name, last name, city, and phone number. And this country value and state value will be stored in the directory level itself, in the subdirectory level itself. I don't need to store them again. Now, keeping that in mind, so that means when I send records to this user records.txt, I should send some here Rebecca something. So DDO and city, some city, and phone number, some phone number. So since this record is part of this US records.txt file, so I already know this country is US and state equal to NY. I don't need to explicitly city, country and state once again there. Now, keeping that in mind, I don't need the country AU, Australia here, and the state code TA here. And in each record, I don't want this data to be present in each record. Okay. So if I have this, if I remove this, I'm removing both the country and state codes from here. Okay. Now, if I try to load this into my table, yes, I can do this. So how will I do this? Load data, local in path. So my static input.txt path. Into your table name, load data local in path into table. Table is partition the user, partition into this table, but into which partition? If it is a partition table, you should not just leave till here into table. So you're telling into which table, but inside that which table, inside that table into which subdirectory it should load. Okay. So I have to specify the partition country equal to, I know this is from Australia. So since I looked at the data, country equal to AU, comma, state equal to some, let's say, some TA or something.
Shiva?
Yes, Satish.
When creating the partition table, you didn't mention the path where the...
Your voice is breaking.
No, when creating the partition table, you didn't mention the path, right?
Path of the partition table.
Right.
Path for a table means?
No, when creating the partition table, you didn't mention the path where the table has to be stored. So it's...
Then where will it get stored?
It's a default, right?
I mean, where default means?
Default metastore, user table.
User Hive warehouse / partition underscore user. Partition underscore partition underscore user. I already typed that describe format. You can see there. Okay, now this my local file. This is my HDFS directory where my table gets stored. And from my local file, so /home/cloudera downloads static input.txt. I loaded this into country Australia and state TA or something. Now, if I check for the directories now, dfs minus lsr, and if you see these directories, so inside that you can see subdirectories got created just now, just 1937. So this is same time, just a minute back. Country AU, under country Australia, state TA subdirectory got created, and inside that my static input.txt file got copied. So if I do now select star from partitioned underscore user, enough. Let me see only those 4 records. Oh, I didn't get values in these columns. The reason is I didn't specify whether it's partitioned by comma, row format delimited, fields dominated by comma. So that statement is missing. I should have specified that after partitioned by row format delimited, fields dominated by comma. Okay. Let me the new table underscore txt. So this got created. Now let me reload that data into your select query now. See, it parsed all your records properly. Rebecca DDO, and it's the address, and this is the city and post, and after web, if you observe at the end, you have your country code AU and your state code TA. And for every record, you can see the country name and state code appearing at the end of all columns, but not in this sequence. Okay. Now, what here you have observed that I removed manually the country code and state code. What if I would add those values as it is? Then if I load that into Australia, or also let me specify that into any state, TA or something, or let me give another state, or the state, some state code NS is there, or W is there. If I try to load that, even with that new 2 new extra columns, also it got stored. Now, if I use this select star from and state equal to where state equal to WA. Okay. country equal to AU and state equal to A. You can see, or if I want to show this mapping, set hive dot cli dot print header equal to true will actually print this. So under this table, first name is Rebecca, last name is DDO, and after that address is this so and so 171 E 24th Street, and after that city. Your city column is showing as AU because in your input file after address AU is there, but in your table definition after address city is there. So your city got mapped with country, and the next one, the post got mapped with the city value here, and phone number 1 got mapped with this code, and phone number 2 got mapped with your post code, and email got mapped with your first phone number, and web got mapped with second phone number. And again, extra, you got Australia country code and state code, but you missed 2 values, email and web address. Whereas if you say that this is for TA, you can see even that email address and web address also, and properly no duplicate information. So that means what I am trying to say is, so if you have partition columns, you should not have data for those columns in your input file if you want to load it through static partitioning. Here at the time of loading itself, you know, these are like, I mean, in my statements, I know that this file static.input.txt is the static input.txt file is containing just the Australia and WA records. If I already know this, then only I should copy them into this partition using this approach. So knowing into which partition you should load your data prior itself is called as static partitioning technique, exactly specifying which country and which partition. That is called static partitioning. What if you have received one common consolidated user records file with 10 million records? So of course you can write some script in Pig or something to separate them, each country and state records into separate files, and then you can load it through your static partitioning. Or on the other hand, if you want to directly load all the 10 million records data into your partition table and automatically create those subdirectories based on the values. And also, you don't want to remove those 2 extra columns, because this is unnecessary tedious process, right? So removing, since there are only 4 records, I removed them. If I have 10 million records, it will take lots and lots of time to remove, or I should write some other extra script to remove those values. Okay. So now my requirement is that I want to load this table. I want to load this entire data as it is, and finally create the partition table appropriately. So I might have some 10 countries, and in each country I might have 10-20 states. So automatically at the time of loading itself. So my Hive engine should create me all the subdirectories appropriately. Yes, even that is possible. By default, dynamic partitioning is turned off in here. So that is dynamically deriving into which partition so-and-so record should go into. Okay, so that's the requirement. Like now, in dynamic partitioning, you can't directly load data from a file into this. If it is a static partitioning, you can load a file into the table. And in case of dynamic partitioning, you can't directly load that entire user records.txt file into our partition table. If you do that, you will miss the two extra columns, two columns of data. So then what you should do is, first we need to create a temporary table, same as I was showing you for ORC parquet. First you should create some temporary text table. Then we should go for copying from that table into the final table. Now I have this table, create temporary table, temp user, and first name, varchar, last name, address. After that I have country and city, state. Even country and state fields are included. This is a plain text file, that's it. It's not partitioned and it's not any other file format. It's a text file format table without any partition. Let me create this table. This is my intermediate table. I'm just making use of this to copy into my final partition table. Okay. Let me take this statement only. Create temporary table temp user. After first name, last name, address, city, country, again string, and after city I have state, which is again a string. Okay, and row format delimited, fields terminated by comma. Okay, since I have input data, so this is a plain text format table. I will create this table now. So partition columns are not supported on temporary tables. I should not have specified these two. For my plain table without any partitions, I don't need that partition by class. So finally created the plain table. Now let me load data into the plain table. So I have those records in /clodera downloads. Instead of static input, I have this user records. I'm loading into my temp table. So loaded. Now if I select start from temp user, where country equal to AU, limit 10. Okay, that means my records got parsed properly. So this is my plain temp table. Now, if I want to load this into partition table, yes, from one table to another table, obviously the way that we know is insert into table name and select star from another table. Now, since this is a partition table, you also need to specify into which partition. In static partitioning, we were giving this country equal to AU and state equal to TA at the time of static partitioning. But in dynamic partitioning, I don't know these values. I want these values to be determined dynamically by looking at the data, input data that is coming. Now, for that, I have this dynamic partitioning. Insert into table partition user, into partition, country, comma, state. I'm not specifying the value. Last name and address. So I want to specify this columns ordering as well, because in my partition table, I will have first name, last name, after that address, after that in my partition table I have city. In my temp user table I have country, but in my partition table after address it is city. In the same order I should load it. Phone number 1, email, and web, state. So here after web I specified country, comma, state from temp user. While selecting from temp user, I can select the columns in my select class. The column names can be in any order. So whatever the order I specify here, in that same order I will get values into this. Now, so when we are selecting data into partition table, we need to select in the same order of my partition table. Like, so in my partition table, if you see first name, last name, address, city, post until web, these are the first list of columns, and partitioned columns at the end. Country, comma, state in your partition like class, and those two columns at the end. So if I submit this, it will not accept it by default. The reason is saying that dynamic partitioning strict mode requires at least one static partition column. So it is asking, it is enforcing me to specify into which partition, whether country equal to Australia or US or state equal to whatever. So to turn off this error message, set hive.exec.dynamic partition mode equal to non-strict. So dynamic partitioning to, oh my God. So to turn this on, I should set this property. So dynamic partition mode is non-strict now. It's not strict. I don't need to specify the values now. If I run this, it will submit a MapReduce job, copies records from this and inserts into the partition user table into appropriate. Also, it creates all the appropriate subdirectories. Now you can observe the directory structure for that. Hadoop fs -ls r/user/cloudera slash, no, it's Hive, right? /user/Hive/warehouse slash partitioned user. It got hanged, it's running slowly. Oh my god, this machine is going very slow. Let me stop running some of the services if there are any. You can see this country equal to AU and state TA records, and also state WA records also you might have. You can see them. In those partitions. Even this will get deleted slowly. So you can see all the Hive staging directories being created there. But let's see the final partitions that it creates. It scanned all the input data and it identified it like, you can see the country equal to AU, country state equal to AC, state equal to NS, all these. And these are just in the intermediate files, okay? So once this job is completed, then you can see all the actual directories being created there. Map is 100% complete, and reducer got failed with, yep, yeah. So it's good that we got this error message so that I can show you one more. So fatal error occurred when node tried to create too many dynamic partitions, and the maximum number of dynamic partitions is controlled by Hive exec max dynamic partitions and Hive exec max partitions per node. Okay, so these two decides each data node, each node manager, how many dynamic partitions they should create at max, and which was set to 100, and we reached beyond 100. Reached beyond 100. That's why we got this error message. To overcome this error message, obviously we need to set this value to something higher value. Let me set it to 1000. Okay, now if I run this, again it's going to take that much of time. Okay, so this time it will create all the directories there. So last time. So that is one way. And under static partitioning, I forgot one option to tell you. So if there is already a partition, there is already a file uploaded into HDFS, and that contains already data in this format, like Hive external tables, user, under user, country equal to US, and state equal to CA. Already the records got separated out for the country and state CA. You want to just add this partition to the external table. So in case if it is external table only, then only you can specify the locations. Or yeah, I mean, as I was, I got used to confuse this. But anyway, this is something new for you guys. External tables and managed tables, no matter. If you specify location, from that location, it captures the partition value. So there is no difference these days. Like, so alter table, table name, add partition, which is country equal to US and state equal to CA, and location, and provide this path. If you already have the data in this directory structure and in HDFS, you can just point to it.
Issue, I have a question.
Yes, Lakshman.
What if there is no partition and then we have to create a partition? Is it possible?
What if there is no partition?
No partition.
No partition.
Yeah, and now you want to add partition. This is what it does?
This is what it does.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this my MapReduce job is completed. You can see how many partitions it created. So here you can see all those partitions. So loading partition, country equal to US, state equal to RI, country equal to UK, west down part, and UK, another state, UK, another state, CA, BC, UK, this US state, okay, Oklahoma, I think. And you can see these many partitions got loaded and directories got created. Now, if you see the same stuff here, you can find all those directories and subdirectories created. See, under country US, these many states are there. Under UK, this many. Under Canada, this many, and Australia, those 4. Okay, so these are the 2 types of partitioning techniques, static and dynamic partitioning. So if you already know into which partition you can move the data, then you can use the static, otherwise dynamic partitioning. And mostly in real-time scenarios, dynamic partitioning will be used because you don't separate those 2 columns records, you don't remove them, and you don't know into which directory you'll be moving. So especially if you want to automate this process, obviously you load it into a temp table, and from that temp table to your final partition table, it gets loaded.
Siva?
Yes, sir.
Siva, static partitioning. So if I have to raise a query against each, do I have to do it against each partition?
See, it depends on, okay, to load the data?
No, to query the data. Load the data is clear. Load the data, you have to do it individually, right?
Yep, you have to do it individually. That's clear. Query, you don't need to specify the partition. You have to specify select star from user, where username equal to Anand and country equal to US.
And it will automatically select that partition?
Yes, obviously. It will automatically
Oh.
select.
So if
It's
I'm
same.
creating
Your
10
select
partitions,
query, see, select query is same for both the partition tables. You don't have two different types of partition tables. We don't have two types of partition tables. There is only one type of partition table. But data loading techniques are two.
okay.
That data loading technique is called either static or dynamic. Dynamically deciding into which partition your data should go into, or statically you telling Hive engine to load into which partition.
So then why do you have to load the data? If it is dynamic, why do you have to load the data in partition? Like, in Oracle, we don't have to do that. You just say partition, it will partition automatically.
Yep, that is what dynamic partitioning will do as well.
Okay. So that will be dynamic partitioning.
Yeah, that's why I told you, like, dynamic partitioning will be heavily used in real time, not the static one.
Got it. Any particular uses you see for static? Any examples?
Any examples in the sense, as I was telling you, like if you are receiving data from different countries and each country is sending its own separate file, then that time.
Okay. So it's depend on the source. Okay, how the system is.
Yep, it depends on the source how it is sending the data.
But in that case, it is definitely, it's like, you're getting individual tables, right? You're just combining them, right?
Correct.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. So, and again, on any existing partition table, you can show partitions and table name. It displays all the partitions like this. Okay, and if you have a file, let's say you received a new file from US for a state XY, and you know this, you can add this partition using this way, alter partition, or you can change the partition location also. Alter table partition user, partition this country. Now the path is changed. I can set location to new path. And if I want to drop a partition, alter table name, drop if exists partition this so and so. This will delete the directory. I'm getting an error and I run mr unit map reduce program. What type of error is this? Oh, you can send me that error message, Rakesh. Okay. So if I switch into that topic, it's completely out of scope. No. You can send me that error message in WhatsApp. Maybe if you are missing that mrunit.jar, I will copy there, or you can even download it from Google, you will find it. Dynamic partitioning, we discussed about. So next, another simple topic, but this is not as complex as partitioning, and we don't have many techniques here. It's very simple topic, and this bucketing concept is present in Hive. Shiva, do we have different partitioning techniques like in Oracle or DB2? Different partitioning techniques in the sense static and dynamic, that's it, only two types, no other types of techniques. Okay. Now coming to bucketing, so this is further drilling down your data into subparts. You're already made, like, so your US country is having now 1 million records and India country is having another 1 million records. So even 1 million records, so you have some huge data. So it's coming up to each file. When you are dynamically loading that, your file is, each file is having like, or each partition is having like 1 GB that way. And if you want to further break that 1 GB files or that each partition into another sub files, so instead of having that entire 1 GB file, if you want to have a 256 MB files 4, so you can divide that each partition by so and so number of buckets. So before explaining you how to do bucketing, so just to give you brief background of bucketing, this is just to further improve your performance of your queries. Already by partitioning, you'll get performance improvement, but if you further drill down your files into another subparts, you'll get extra advantage. But the problem with bucketing is in Hive. So if you create any bucketed table in Hive, and if you want to use those tables in Impala, you can't use them because bucketing feature is not supported in your Impala. Also, if you have your Hive tables with bucketed feature, you can't use them in Spark SQL. Even Spark SQL does not support bucketed tables. So maybe few guys like Akhila and Lakshman, we talked about this feature yesterday itself, that I was telling you one of the limitations for Spark SQL and Impala are that they don't support bucketing. And in a typical enterprise, to keep your tables available across all the tools. So if you create one table in Hive, so we always make sure that in some case, if you want to access the same table through Impala, yes, you should make it available. And in case if you want to access through Spark SQL, it should be available. Not just it is available only in Hive. In that case, you have to create multiple tables in each tool, which is a bad idea, a bad design. Okay. So with respect to Hive, only in case if you are going to use your tables only in Hive, yes, you can use this bucketing feature. Otherwise, I don't recommend to use people to use bucketing, at least in real time. When in the same cluster, you have Impala and even the Spark integration is there. And if you want to use this same table available in all those places. Okay. In some cases where you are using just the Hortonworks Hadoop and you don't want your tables to be available in Spark SQL, yes, you can enable the bucketing feature on the tables. Okay, now let's see how to enable this partitioning stuff. Now, inside each country, you have a file. You will have a file with all the records into that. Now, if you further want to drill down into how many files or something, or it's not mandatory that you should use bucketing feature only on top of partition table. You can use on plain tables also. Your data will get split into those many number of files. The syntax is create table name, your columns, and in place of partitioned by, we have clustered by. And inside the clustered by class, whatever the columns that you specify, those columns should be part of your table definition. This is your table definition. So user is part of your table columns. And on the existing column only, you can cluster by. So clustered by is again something like, so distributing hash partition by hash partitioning technique. So all the users, we cluster them by into so many buckets that we specify here. So clustered by user and sorted by user ID, username into 5 buckets. Here we should specify how many buckets we want. And those many number of files will get created. Suppose on this same table, partition table, if I want to enable bucketing also, or let me create a bucketed table directly. Instead of these many partitions, if I want to just I can specify clustered by country, and I don't want this. I'll specify those columns here itself. Country string, and after city I have state, which is again another string. So I want to cluster by country into 4 buckets. And inside that country, each country, if I want to sort records by name or something, sort by first name. Bucketed user. Let me create this. This is very simple topic, only bucketing.
So this is essentially breaking down the table into chunks. That's it,
Yes.
right? As simple as.
Yes. Let me, if you show this directory structure, then you will be better able to. Sorted by, clustered by, and sorted by. Okay, so this table is sorted by now. Now, let me load data into this table. Again, as I was telling you, your load data in path directly works only for, I treating this only for plain text file format, or in case of partitioning, static partitioning. In all other case, if your file format is other than text, like ORC, parquet, or any sequence file other than text, it could be anything, and it could be dynamic partitioning or bucketing. In all cases, we need a temporary table, temporary text table, and from that temporary text table we'll be moving into target table. Now I already have this temporary text table, temp underscore user. I created this temp table, right? So from this table to this table, I will copy this data. So insert into bucketed user, select a star from temp user. So I don't need to specify into which partition, since this is not partition table, it's just a purely bucketed table. This time, let's see what will happen. How come? Oh my God. I think the bucketing is not done. It's my guess that describe formatted bucketed user. So this is the path. And number of, here you can see the bucket columns by country and sort by order of first name, and this number of buckets are 4. But here let's see whether this data really got bucketed or not. So I doubt it's not. Okay, so DFS minus LS minus capital R. It's not bucketed. The reason is pretty simple. By default, Hive does not automatically enforce bucketing. In order to enable that bucketing, same like your dynamic partitioning is turned off by default, and even the bucketing feature is turned off by default. If you want to enable it, yes, you should do with this property. Set hive.enforce.bucketing equal to true. Okay. Set hive.enforce.bucketing equal to true. Insert override. Now I want to override that existing contents. I don't want to. Insert override bucketed user. Select star from. Okay. So cannot recognize input near bucketed user. Select star from.
W is lowercase.
W in lowercase.
Insert, after the insert you have overwrite, whatever that is. Overwrite. In your SQL.
Oh, this W is lowercase you're selling? This one? No.
Yeah, okay, that is good.
No, that's fine. Insert override table name. So let me select the columns if it is having an issue. If I can select the columns. So after address, I can specify country, and after city, I can specify state in the same order. For bucketed tables, I don't need to change the order of these columns. Bucketed user, is this any spelling mistake in that? BUCKETED_user cannot recognize input near bucketed user. Select.
Table keyword is missing, I guess.
Okay. Insert override table. Oh, yep. I always forget this table in insert statements and load data and path also. In load data and path, into table name I used to give, again forget table there. So this time, how did I identify whether it was partitioned or not? I looked in my previous MapReduce job. The number of reducers was 0 there. And now the number of reducers 4. The basic funda here is that how many ever buckets you enable, you ask it for those many number of reducers will run. In my previous MapReduce job, I saw this number of reducers as 0. So that's where I got out that bucketing was not happening. Now I enforce the bucketing to true. Now it picked up number of reducers as 4. Okay. So loading data into this table, number of files 4. Now if you look at this directory, you can see 4 files got created. 4 files got created, but data is spread into only two files, 2 buckets. This is some abnormal behavior because of your hash coding technique. So now, how does this data get split into these files? So whatever the column that you specified, clustered by, I specified clustered by country, right? And that country value will get converted into unique hash code, and that unique hash code will get divided by your number of buckets. Same like in your partitioning logic in MapReduce. So partitioning, hash partitioning technique in MapReduce partitioner. So here the same hash partitioning technique will be used, the bucketing concept, to divide your records into those many number of files. Okay, so here in partition and bucketing, you will not get subdirectories. Your data will get split into files. And in partitioning, your data will get split into subdirectories. And if you combine these two, yes, you will get both of them. So on a partition table, you can create a bucketing, and within each partition, you will get four buckets now. Suppose if I enable partition on this bucketed user, partition underscore bucketed underscore user, then country equal to US, under that US country, and if you enable state by partitioning also, country equal to US and state equal to New York, and under that New York subdirectory, you will get 4 files get created. Okay, so I will leave that for your assignment. Your Hive assignments. Create a partition bucketed table with partitioned by country and clustered by or bucketed by state. Create partition bucketed table with partition by country and bucketed by state into 4 buckets. Okay. And download the input data for this. Load data into this table by using the input from this link. Oh, user records are already. It's the same user records. So this file. You use that. Okay. And practice all the aggregate and string functions bare minimum, and show at least one example for each of. So yeah, the one advantage with bucketing, we have seen that it further gives you the performance improvement. And one more thing is, you can take a sample of data. Table sampling is possible. Select a star from post count, here in this case, table sample, bucket 1 out of 2. Means for every 2 buckets, select 1 bucket. So that way, your bucketed tables are useful for table sampling. You can take some samples like, so for every 5 buckets, take 1 bucket. Then in that case, bucket 1 out of 5. Okay. And also one more use case is that in case of joins, if you have your tables bucketed by some column, and if you are joining them by the same bucketed column, your joins will be relatively very faster and compared to your regular joins. Even this is also regular join only, but if you have the underlying tables bucketed by a particular column, and if the same column you are using for joining, then your results will be much faster.
Hey, Siva.
Yes.
Siva, sorry, I'm not clear. So partition versus bucketing, that I'm not clear. I mean,
it is not versus.
Okay.
It's an additional extra topping.
Topping, how come it's a topping? Because we are still dividing that table. We are not dividing the partition. We are not bucketing the partition, right?
Yeah. If you use bucketing along with partitioning, inside each partition you will get 4 files if you specify.
Oh, okay. So it's but in your syntax, you don't have partition. You just have clustered.
Here I didn't specify. See, I can create bucketing both on a plain table and as well as a partition table as well.
Okay, got it. Makes sense.
Okay.
So
here,
addition.
Yep. Here in this example, I just shown you creation of buckets on a plain table, and as your assignment, I gave you to create on top of a partition table. Create partitioned bucketed table, meaning partition by country and bucketed by state into 4 buckets. Then observe inside each country you will find 4 files getting created.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
But the bucketed is not supported by Impala, so probably.
And bucketed is not supported by Impala and not supported by Spark SQL.
So then, where would we be using that? Only.
Yeah, that's why in real time, my recommendation is that don't create bucketed tables.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Good one.
But this was one of the optimization technique in when you consider only your scope is only high. Okay, so if you wait for another 10-15 minutes, I can complete the UDFs, or otherwise we can take this up tomorrow. UDFs and JDBC client will take up tomorrow, and any integration with HBase, even this one you can take it up later after completion of HBase also. And Hive on Page, I will show you at least the articles on this, because Hutton starting on my machine, it's being very slow. And Tableau integration also, I will explain you the flow and some of the performance tuning techniques in Hive. So what are the best practices that you should follow in Hive to make your queries faster? And you are seeing whenever I start Hive Shell, you might be observing that Hive CLI is deprecated. Start using beeline. But we got, since from past experience, we got used to Hive CLI, so we directly log into that. But so how does beeline look like? It's the same as your CLI only, but I will show you how to connect to that tomorrow. Okay, so these articles. So this slide itself will take at least on 45 to 50 minutes, and this JDBC client and UDFs will take another 1 hour or so. We can get completed easily. Okay, for Hive JDBC clients, this is purely related to typical JDBC program, and it's one of the advanced component in Java. Okay, in Java, this is also one component. The prerequisite is you should have a basic idea on how does JDBC programs look like. Otherwise, I will explain you tomorrow. Maybe if you don't get it, the syntax or the sequence of it in the first go, you might need to spend half an hour or 1 hour on understanding how does JDBC clients look like. Okay, but this is not rocket science. This is very simple. Even I learned in less than 1 hour or so when I learned it. Okay, so in case if you want to access your tables through Java, okay, then we need that. And so this is where in tomorrow's session we need Hive, we need Java, both for Hive JDBC client and also for Hive UDFs. Even Hive UDFs we write in Java, we register in Hive Shell and start using that. Same like your big UDFs being written in Java. If you can do me a favor, just go through basic JDBC client, how does it look like in Java, and then come to the next class so that it makes me to explain it very easily. The migration part, the specifics of Hive. Okay. So, yep, it is like partitioning in a part. Shiva, please upload today video as early as possible. Okay. Yep. Thanks, Murli. You are the one, every day who follows up with me to upload it if it gets delayed. Yeah. So, you are every day attending the session. What is the hurry for you? Especially if there is someone who is not attending, if they ask, that makes sense for me. Every day I see you in the class, and then again, within 2-3 hours, you'll ask for a video.
Not sure. Actually, I got a free time in the morning hours so that I can hear this video again and again so that I can.
You don't need to listen this too many times, man. If you are listening in the morning, maybe if there is a gap of one week or 10 days, then revisiting the video is okay.
But here for me it's early morning, that meanwhile sometimes I will take some nap like that. It will happen sometimes.
Okay, then it makes sense. I have a question. I read the statement in the link. HBase does not provide a query language like SQL, but Hive is now integrated with HBase. Yes, I will show you that HBase Hive integration. See,
Shiva, one more thing.
Yeah.
My friend is working on some Hadoop.
Mm-hmm.
Just now, whatever the discussion happened 2 days back,
Mm-hmm.
like Hive with Impala and Parquet. Nowadays, I mean, whatever said, it's a correct, Shiva, because just I am inquiring how the industry is going and what's happening in the industry.
Okay.
In their company, they are using same thing, whatever you said correctly.
Yep, of course. Because you see, I have almost like 4.5 years experience, and I have practiced all these things in real time. I know their hiccups. Okay, so that's why I recommend the best practices only for you guys.
Okay, Shiva.
Okay.
Siva, what about JDBC? What did you say? What do we need to know about JDBC quickly?
What is mean by JDBC? Java Database Connectivity.
No. What should I pick up on that? Like, do I want to read something on it? Like
Maybe you can read, if you can spend 5-10 minutes on any JDBC tutorial, like just understand how does a JDBC client look like, JDBC program. Google simple JDBC program, same keyword.
Okay.
Understand that what is it doing. If there will be 3 or 4 steps, at least identify those 4 steps, then it will be very easy for you here.
It's same as like connecting to Oracle database using JDBC, right?
Correct.
Like that, right?
Exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Here only the connection parameters will change, that's it.
Okay.
So if you understood that, I am already done with the topic. It's as simple as that. So that's why. Yep.
For Oracle, we typically use this JDBC only. It's easy to connect using JDBC.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep. I have something from this Hive Table mapper use util the HBase prefix tree modular jar is containing. Prefix tree codec is not present, continuing without. So I'm getting this error. What is this error? How do I correct it? First of all, this is not an error message, Rakesh. This is just a warning message. You don't need to correct it. You can still go ahead and use your Hive Shell. Okay. No need of solving this HBase prefix tree modular jar. Okay. So you will not face any issues if as long as you are using just the Hive. So unless until there is something specific that HBase specific it's asking. Okay. So Anand for JDBC reference. Yep. Okay. So I have a question on Spark SQL. May I get 5 minutes of time after the session? After the session, actually, I'm quickly rushing off, Ramesh. You can post me in WhatsApp. Then based on my time, I will respond. Okay. I'm quickly, so I have some client visits. So I need to be in office by 10 o'clock. And before that, I need to complete my breakfast. Okay.
See what there was one outstanding point between you and me. So did you get to follow through that? About
as I was telling you, I mean, he was out of station last weekend.
Okay.
So let me, these days, see, we have all the resources, everything. The main constraint is time.
Right.
Let me talk to that guy and make it arrange for you. Okay.
I'm in the middle of assignment, so this is a very perfect time for me. Once I go on,
okay. Yeah, let me talk to that guy, and if he can spend some time this weekend, I will arrange it for you. Okay.
It won't be this weekend. Sorry, next weekend, right? Sorry, this weekend. Remember.
So then you have two. I have 2 weeks, and no problem. I can manage. Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
So thanks, guys. Thank you very much.